Amen. Did some of you have some crazy things happen to you today? I want those back doors closed if there's babies out there. We need all those doors closed. I think there should be speakers out there. They can hear with those doors closed. I had a really calm day. You know, every ladies' conference, I usually have crazy things happen to me. And I had a perfectly calm day. Everyone pretty much did what they said they were going to do. That's kind of nice when that happens. And I picked up Mrs. Muchler, and I picked Mrs. Wilkerson and Kristen Cowling, and I took them to dinner tonight. And we ran a little bit later than I thought we were going to, and I had about 10 minutes from the time I would get home, 10 minutes to change to come back down here to meet with everyone. And I thought, well, this is really cutting it close. So I'm driving in the fast lane, you know, the speed limit in the fast lane. I'm driving the fast lane thinking, I really don't have much time, and my car turns off. It just goes quiet. And I thought, oh, this is strange. And you know, you start going slower and slower because there's nothing happening. You push on the gas as far as you want and it doesn't happen. And I had left my phone at home, so I didn't have a phone with me. And I thought, oh, Lord. And I didn't know if I should, you know, when you pull over on the freeway, you're supposed to pull over on the slow lane. But I'm in the fast lane going slower and slower, thinking, should I try getting over there? You know, in Temecula at 5 o'clock, you don't go anywhere. And I thought, well, I better just get off. So I got off, and I turned the car, put the car in park, turned the key off, and said, Lord, I have got to get home, and I don't have a phone. I'm going to have to get out of the car and go, I look really sad and have some nice person stops to call for me or something. But who's going to stop in the fast lane? You know, I didn't know if I would get anyone to stop for me. And I turned the key and it started. And then I had to get back on the freeway in the fast lane. You know, you're riding on the gravel, trying to get your speed up so you could get back in the traffic. And I thought, oh, but I made it. I made it home. I changed in 5 minutes. My daughter had ironed my dress for me. Isn't that nice? I changed in 5 minutes. I rushed down here. So if there's something wrong, it's because my car broke down. But anyway, and it's just been kind of a busy day. But God is good, and you know what? He lets all those things happen for a reason. I want to tell you a story tonight. I've told stories in here before. I don't mean lies. I don't lie. But I have told stories before, and I hope I can make this. I heard this story 30 years ago. It's a true story. It's a missionary story. And I really have prayed that God would help me make this story as real to you and as it really spoke to my heart. I hope I could tell it well. So if you want to pray for me while I'm speaking, I hope I don't leave out anything that needs to be said. But I'm going to just go ahead and get into the story. And then I have a long story and a short lesson. Isn't that nice? I'm not going to preach at you for very long. I'm hoping the story will do its job. So I'm going to just hang on to this. And I made my notes really big. I think they're 18 point or something. So I don't have to put my glasses on. You know, that's what you need to do. But about 40 years ago, way back in the jungles of Dutch New Guinea, there was a missionary. And where he lived, you couldn't get fresh fruit or vegetables. Hardly ever did they eat fresh fruits or vegetables, and they would crave them. Well, he found out that not too far away in another mission station, there was a missionary who had pineapple plants. Did you get a pineapple gift bookmark tonight? Did you think, what does a pineapple bookmark have to do with this? Did you think that? You're going to find out. I'm going to talk to you tonight about having a harvest of happiness. How to have a harvest of happiness in your life. So anyway, back to the story. Where was I? And he lived way back in the jungle. He didn't, and so he decided he would plant pineapple plants for his family so they could have fresh fruit. So he sent for 100 pineapple plants. And when they came, he hired one of the natives to plant those plants for him. Now, if you don't know anything about pineapples do not grow on trees. They grow on bushes. How many of you thought they grew on trees? Some of you thought they made them. They grow on bushes. And did you know that it takes 3 years for a pineapple bush to become mature enough to bear fruit? And so so he planted the plants, and he had to wait 3 long years for that fruit. But he knew it was coming, and he was patient. And around nearing the end of the 3rd year, it was almost Christmas time. At Christmas time would be the time that the pineapples would be ripe. Wouldn't that be nice? Him and his wife would take walks out into the garden, and they would see these little pineapples coming on, and then they were getting bigger and bigger. And finally, they saw several pineapples on many of the bushes it was just a matter of days, maybe a week, before that pineapple would be perfectly ripe. You know, a pineapple doesn't taste very good unless it's ripe. And they'd waited 3 years. They might as well wait till it was perfectly ripe, and it'd be sweet and juicy. And so they knew where those pineapples were. So the next couple days, where they took their walk to check those pineapples out, and they were gone. And then they thought, well, that's strange. And then a couple days later, but they saw others that were going to ripen in just a couple days. So a couple days later, they came, and those pineapples were gone. Those natives were stealing his pineapples. They were stealing them before they were ripe enough to eat. Their philosophy was, steal it before it's ripe, or 2-1 will get it. And 2-1 is what they called the missionary. That's a word that means outsider. The missionary couldn't believe it. Here, him and his wife were there. They had a clinic, they had a store, they were helping these people, they were helping their sick babies. Those dirty, rotten, whatever natives were stealing his pineapples. Those were his pineapple plants. He was so angry. Now, did you know missionaries aren't supposed to get angry? I know missionaries aren't supposed to get angry. You know missionaries aren't supposed to get angry. Mr. Missionary knew he wasn't supposed to get angry. But you know what? He was angry. Have you ever been angry when you knew you weren't supposed to be angry? We're going to talk a little bit about that tonight. All you that shook your head? No. And the rest of you who lied, who didn't shake your head? He became angry. And he thought, I can't believe you're stealing my pineapples. So he called them all together and said, look, you guys are stealing my pineapples. I want this to stop. These are my pineapples. Stay out of my garden. Stay away from my pineapples. Day after day, the pineapples still were stolen. And finally he thought, I've got to do something. He said, okay, if you steal any more of my pineapples, I'm closing the clinic. He ran a clinic. His wife would give them free medicine, and she would take care of their sick babies and help them when they were sick. And he said, I'm going to close the clinic. Well, the pineapples still got stolen. He thought, I've got to stand my ground. I can't let these people just push me around. They have to know I mean what I say. So he closed the clinic. Well, it wasn't long till people were coughing and begging for medicine. And he said, no, you stole my pineapples. But then they started bringing their sick babies to him. And he thought, I can't stand any longer. So he opened back the clinic. And guess what? All the pineapples started getting stolen. They kept getting stolen. And he thought, man, what am I going to do? And then he found out who was stealing them. The man who planted them. He called the guy in and said, look, man, you're my gardener. What are you doing stealing my pineapples? And he said, me plant them, me eat them. He said, what? I paid you to plant those pineapples. Those are my pineapples. He said, no, Tuan, me plant them, me eat them. And he started talking to people, and that was their law. If you planted a plant, whatever fruit it bore was yours. He thought, oh man, now they tell me. They had never heard of being paid to do a job. So he thought, okay, I guess I live in the jungle. I'm going to have to go by their rules. So he said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. He brought me out to the garden. He said, I'm going to give you this half of the garden. This is your half. You eat these pineapples. And he said, this half of the garden, this is my half. You do not eat my pineapples. These are my pineapples. Understand? The native just kind of looked at him. He thought, I think I got through. And guess what happened? The pineapples got stolen. He thought, oh man, what am I going to do? He said, all right, I can't win. I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to give him all these pineapples and I'll start all over again. 3 more years. So he called the guy and he said, look, if you think these are your pineapples, then I want you to dig these pineapples up out of my garden and put them in your garden, and I will plant some different pineapples. The native said, "You have to pay me." He said, "What?" He said, "That's work, Tuan. You asked me to dig up your pineapples and move them." He said, "Now they're my pineapples." He said, "All right, okay, I'll pay you 1 day's work to get these pineapples out of my garden." He said, "Tuan, I don't have a garden. You have to pay me to get my garden ready." He said, forget it, just get out of here, forget it. And he hired a man to dig up all those pineapples and throw them in the trash heap. That was hard, because they were nice pineapple plants. He said, okay. He went, sent, and got more pineapples, little tiny pineapple plants, and he called a native over. He found the most intelligent one he thought he knew. And he thought, I'm going to explain this to him so this doesn't happen again. He called the native and he said, now I want you to plant these pineapples for me, and I'm going to pay you. But they're my pineapples. I eat them. Oh, no, Tuan. Me plant them, me eat them. He goes, no, I know, you plant, me eat. I know all that stuff. But he says, this is different. And then he got an idea. He said, do you like... Cut my hand off there. Do you like this knife? He said, oh, I like. See, these natives didn't have any tools or any metal like this. He said, I like Tuan. He said, I will give you this knife if you will plant these pineapples for me, and they'll be my pineapples. The missionary thought about that, and he thought, so Tuan will give me his knife to let him eat my pineapples. Oh, okay. And so he said, all right. Oh, he finally got through to the guy. So the guy the native planted the pineapples. 3 more years passed. Once again, Mr. and Mrs. Missionary took their walks through the pineapple garden. They started seeing little pineapples come on. They started growing bigger. And then, once again, it would only be a matter of days till they could pick the pineapples. They picked all the ones out. They were just about ready to be ripe. A couple days later, they went to pick the pineapples, and they were gone. The native stole every single one of those pineapples. Now he was really mad. It's bad enough when you wait 3 years to eat a pineapple. Now he had waited 6 years, and they were still stealing his pineapples. He said, okay, what am I going to do? I can't close the clinic. I tried that. That wasn't good. I know what I'll do. I'll close the trade store. He called them in. You guys, you stole my pineapple. If any more pineapples get stolen, I'm closing the trade store. Guess what? They kept getting stolen. So he said, okay, I'm going to close it. So close the trade store. Well, the only problem with that is the trade store was the reason all the people came to live near the missionary. So here he is. They decided, if we don't have a trade store, we might as well move back in our jungle houses. So here he is, sitting, no people, no one to talk to, no one to teach him the language, no one to win to Christ, while he's eating his pineapples, because all the people left. And he thought, this is ridiculous. I can eat pineapples in the States. I did not come here to eat pineapples. He sent a runner out and said, tell him all to come back. I'll open up the trade store. So he opened back up the trade store. But he thought, I still want to eat those pineapples. I've got to think of a way. And he came up with the best idea ever. He found the biggest, meanest German Shepherd dog that he could find. And he put it loose in his garden. And it worked perfect. Those natives were so afraid of that dog. They just had little skinny, scrawny dogs that they never fed. And that dog scared them to death. The problem is it had the same effect as closing the trade store. They were so afraid of the dog, they never came around. So he had no one to talk to, no one to teach him the language, and no ministry, and lots of pineapple. He thought, oh man. And then the mission doctor that lived there came and said, look, if your kids or anybody else gets bit by that dog, I'm not treating them. He said, oh, well, the doctor's using the same tactics on me I've been using on the natives. He said, all right, we'll get rid of the dog. Well, it was just about that time. Him and his wife were due to go on furlough. So they packed up their family. They came to the States to be on furlough. And while they were on furlough, he heard a pastor preach. I'm not using my notes. I'm going to have to find this, and I should have been pretending I was using my notes. He heard a pastor preach on a scripture. Matthew. No, that's not the right page. Sorry. Matthew 10:39. He that findeth his life shall lose it, and he that loseth his life for my sake shall find it. The pastor said, if you give, you'll have. If you keep for yourself, you'll lose. Give your things to God, and God will always see that you have enough. Well, he sat and listened to that sermon. Do you know what came to his mind? A garden back home in the jungle. And he thought, man, I'm going to give that pineapple garden to God. What do I have to lose? I'm not eating the pineapples anyway. Now, he knew that wasn't a very good sacrifice. You know, you're supposed to sacrifice things that are important. But he said, it doesn't matter. I'm going to give it to God anyway, and I'm going to see what God does with that pineapple garden. So when he got back to the jungle, one night when no one was around, he went into the pineapple garden, and he prayed a prayer something like this, and I'm going to read this. He said, Lord, see these pineapples? I have fought to have fruit from them. I have claimed them as my own. I have stood up for my rights to eat my fruit. It's all wrong, and I realize it now. I've seen that it's wrong, and I give them to you. From now on, if you want me to eat any of these pineapples, fine. But if not, that's okay too, because it really doesn't matter anymore. Several months went by, and the natives still stole the pineapples. A missionary thought, see, God can't control these natives either. But one day, a couple of the natives came to him, and one of them said, Tuan, you have become a Christian, haven't you? And he started to say, look here, I've been saved for 20 years. But instead he said, why do you say that? He said, because you don't get mad at us anymore when we steal your pineapples. What a revelation. He had been teaching them, love one another, forgive your brother, get along. The whole time he was fighting for his rights and being angry at these people. And then one bright lad said, Tuan, why don't you get mad at us anymore when we steal your pineapples? He said, because they're not my pineapples anymore. I gave the garden away. Oh, they looked at each other. Said, did he give it to you? No. Did he give it to you? Not me. Who did he give it to? Tuan, who did you give this garden to? Whose pineapples are we stealing? He said, I gave this pineapple garden to God. To God? Doesn't God have any pineapples where he lives? He said, I don't know if God has any pineapples where he lives, but I still thought I should give it to God. Oh, they went away thinking about that one. It wasn't too much longer when a whole group of them came. And they said, Tuan, you should not have given your pineapple garden to God. We want you to get it back. He said, no, I should have given that pineapple garden to God a long time ago. I'm not taking it back. That garden belongs to God forever now. And they said, oh, Tuan, we better not steal pineapples anymore. No wonder when we go hunting we don't get any pigs. And when we go fishing the fish don't come. And our wives aren't having babies and our children are sick. See, these people were afraid of God. Then the pineapples began to get ripen. They started ripening. And the natives came to him and said, Tuan, your pineapples are getting ripe. He said, oh, they're not my pineapples. They're God's. He said, but Tuan, they're going to get rotten. You should pick them. And so he did. And he gave the ones he picked to the natives. And then he picked some for his family, and they ate some too. And do you know, those natives, as they watched him change, they began to change too. And many, many of the natives started getting saved. Mr. Missionary realized that there were other things in his life he really hadn't given to God either. One of those things was his time. They started bringing things to him, saying, Tuan, could you fix our chair? Could you fix our harmonica? Could you fix our rake? And he would sit down and talk with them and fix it for them. And he said, God, I give you my time. If you want me to fix rakes and fix chairs here on the mission field, my time is yours, that's what I will do. The many natives started getting saved more and more all the time. They were saying, Tuan has become a Christian. He has told us that God wants us to love each other, and now he's starting to love us. Let me ask you a question. What grows in your pineapple garden? I want to share tonight, that was the introduction. I want to share tonight some pineapple gardens that we have in our lives. Some of these are stories about my pineapple garden. Some of them are stories about others. But we all have a pineapple garden. Actually, we have many of them. Kathy, can you come up and help me? When I was 19 years old, I was dating my husband at the time, and we were going to a Bible college in Northern California. And this was just a short time after I had heard this missionary story. And my boyfriend, which is my husband now, came to me and told me that he felt that God wanted him to leave the college we were at and to attend Hyles-Anderson College in Indiana. And I was in college in Northern California. And so, of course, if my boyfriend, who I was very much in love with, thought that it was God's will for him to go to Indiana to college, I knew it was God's will for me to go to Indiana to college. And so I went home and explained that to my father. My father did not feel the same as I did about the situation. For one thing, I knew absolutely nothing about Hyles-Anderson College. I just knew Bruce Goddard was going there. That was good enough for me, but was not good enough for my father. And my dad said, no, I don't think we really know enough about this. I think that you need to stay near home and go to a closer college. Now, I had a decision to make. Do I yield my right to my future to God, to plan my future to God, or do I plan it myself? The other part of this is, when I told my husband that my dad wasn't going to let me go, or I could have gone, I was old enough, but I wasn't going to go against my dad. I said, my dad doesn't want me to go. He said, well, if we don't go to the same college, we had talked about, he said, if we don't go to the same college, I don't think we should date anymore. Now I'm really going to have to yield my future to God. I'm going to have to yield the right to plan my future. I had it all planned, ladies. I was going to go to Bible college, finish, and wherever Bruce Goddard went, I didn't care where, New Guinea, Africa, Southern California, it didn't matter. That's where I was going to be. But that was not how God wanted it to be at that time. And so I had to yield my future to God. Do you know, I'm glad I did. Because it wasn't long. My husband did go. I stayed home. I worked. I really saved a lot of money, just in case money had anything to do with it. I did a lot of praying. I never asked my dad about it again. My husband was at Hyles-Anderson College. I was home. And that was in January when he left. About July, my mom came to me and said, do you still want to go to Indiana to go to college? And I said, yes. She said, your dad told me to tell you that if you still wanted to do that, he thought it would be okay. God did something really wonderful to me. He taught me to yield my future to Him. This is a harvest of happiness that comes from that. I could have planned it myself. I could have broke relationship with my dad. But yielding it to God, God planned it so much better. Do you know, by the time I got to Hyles-Anderson, my husband really liked me. He really missed me while he was there. This is another story. Oh, there goes my family picture. Oh well. He might not like me now. Those are expensive. When I married my husband, I found out one thing about him. I found out many things, but one thing that stands out right now is we had a real different financial philosophy. Did Did any of you ever marry a man that you found out you and him don't exactly look at finances the same? How many? Raise your hand. I'm not saying who's right, who's wrong. I just say we're different. I married a man who decided to take me from Indiana to Southern California. He did not have a job. He did not have any money. I didn't know how much. He tells that story now, and I thought, I had no idea he had that little money. What did he say? What does he say? $50 or something? And when we got here, 30. She knows the story better than I do. I had no idea we were that poor. I was so poor and didn't even know it. I was so in love, I didn't care. But you know, God took care of us all the way, but I had to really yield the right to feel financially secure to God. I had to say, God, if that's what my husband wants to do, that's what I'm going to do. What is your pineapple garden? Maybe it's where you live. Did you get that? Yes, you got it. Maybe it's where you live. Do you know, I've lived in a lot of interesting places. When you come into town with no job and only $30 in your pocket, you live in some interesting places. I remember when we started out in a motorhome in someone's front yard. It was their motorhome. And that wasn't going to work for very long. We knew that. We had to find our own place. Well, by then, we had really had a lot more money because his brother had given him $300. And so, with $300 in our pockets, we were rich. So we weren't looking for a place to live. Now, ladies, we didn't own a thing. When we moved out here, we bought what fit in a 2-door car. We didn't own furniture. We didn't own anything. And so I thought, well, we need a furnished apartment. And we have $300 in our pocket. And do you know what God gave us? A furnished apartment for $200? Can you imagine what it looked like? It was a bit scary. I remember laying in bed at night, and the lady below us smoked all the time. And that apartment was so poorly made that the cigarette smoke just came up through the floorboard. And you just sit there, you know, if she smoked marijuana, we could have got high in there. But you just, you know. But many times I had to say, God, I yield the right to choose where I live to you. And if this is what you have for me, this is what I'll do. Now, don't think I didn't fast and pray to get out of that place. I did a lot of fasting and praying. And God did move us. He moved us to another house, and He moved us to we lived across the street from the tent and the property on Cat Road for a while. But, you know, we live in a beautiful home now. We live on 6.5 acres. To own 6.5 acres in Southern California is pretty amazing. God has truly, truly blessed us. And we have, and do you know what? If I hadn't yielded my right, and I'm not saying I loved it, I did not love living in some of those places, but I accepted it. And I didn't fight my husband, and I didn't make it any harder for him than it already had to have been. But look at this. I don't think we would have Faith Baptist Church if God hadn't helped me yield my right to choose where I live to Him. When God asks us to do something really hard, when we surrender and give in, we always get a harvest of happiness. Now, this is not a good story. Those were good stories. Let me tell you about a big mistake that I made when I didn't yield my right to God. When we first started our church, we had a little green car. Actually, it wasn't green, it was 4 colors. Because it had a fender from one car, a bumper from another car. It had a lot of different colors. And it wasn't very big. And so when we first started our church, it seemed like everyone who came to our church needed a ride to church. How many of you ever started a church in here? Your husband did. Some of you, yes. Everyone who came needed a ride. So my husband was making about 3 trips in the morning in our little car to get all these people to church. Well, we had what we called normal family that came to our church. We were so excited about this normal family. I mean, it was a husband, a wife, and 4 children that were all theirs. And they tithed. That was amazing. No, I'm teasing. I don't believe that's what a normal family is. And they had a station wagon. Woo, woo, woo. You know how many people you could bring to church in a station wagon? And so my job was to find out who my husband could not pick up that morning. And then I would call this lady. Her husband worked a lot of Sundays, so it was just her and her 4 kids. So they had several seats left in the station wagon. And I would call her and see if she could give these people a ride. And I never wanted to inconvenience her too much because they were normal and I wanted to keep them. And I didn't want to inconvenience her too much, so I only chose someone who was right on her street. For instance, if she had to take 2 streets to church, I chose people who lived on one of those streets. So all she had to do was stop, open the door, and they'd get in. She didn't have to go out of her way. Because when you have 4 kids, it's kind of hard to get ready and get somewhere on time. Well, I noticed, I called her one Sunday, oh, yeah, well, we could do that. And then I called her the next Sunday, oh, yeah, well, we can do that. And the next Sunday, nobody answered their phone. I thought, oh, I missed them. They must have already left. And so I didn't think anything of it. And so my husband got back with his 3 trips and ran and got those people. Well, the next Sunday I called and no one answered their phone. And I knew that they hadn't left yet because I called real early. And so when I went to her house, I said, you know, I wonder if something's wrong with your phone. And her face turned red, and she looked at me, and she said, you are totally taking advantage of me and my family. And she told me how awful I was for asking her to do this. This was the pastor's job, and why was I asking her to do his job? That's what he got paid to do. We didn't get paid. We didn't get paid anything then. But anyway, I didn't go there. I'm really glad I didn't go there. I went some other places I shouldn't have gone. But anyway, she accused me of being insensitive. I'm trying to get people a ride to church, and I'm insensitive. I'm uncaring. She said all kinds of things. And you know, right then and there, I had a choice. I should have said, in my heart, God, I yield my right to have a good name and a good reputation to you. And if this lady thinks this of me, I'll trust you had a reason for this to happen. But that's not what I did. I just came out of House Anderson, where we drove an hour and a half to pick up people to take them to church. I was on fire for God. You know how women who are on fire for God are. No one could stand them. That was me. And I told that lady exactly what I thought of her lame, carnal, God gave her a car, shouldn't she use her car? I went down the list. And then I went home. And I thought, well... And when I walked out that door, I knew I had done everything wrong. I knew I had. I knew I had not lost my life. I was fighting for every right I had with that lady. So, of course, I knew I had to go apologize. Because I was totally wrong. So I did go back, and I apologized, and she accepted it. But we didn't keep that family. We didn't get a harvest of happiness from that situation. Now, I don't know if it was all my fault we didn't keep that family, but I know I sure didn't help. Because I didn't yield my right to have a good name. Is that up there? To have a good name. Now let me tell you a story about a lady in our church who had I'm going to tell that story. Let's just go on. This is a good one. This is the next point. Jimmy McLean, are you in here? Oh, she's in here. Okay. Jimmy McLean she is a great lady in our church, and she has organized a lot of the senior citizen ladies to do a lot of fundraisers for our missionaries. She's raised, this other day, those ladies all, who's involved in that? Is there ladies in here that was involved? Yeah, see, there's him. A lot of the ladies raised money, $400 for Brett and Jim Bill to come home, because they're coming home to have a baby, and they're the ones in Ghana. but grew up here in our church. And she, for our little store thing up here, she had asked Mrs. Valdez, who was in charge of the store, she had asked Mrs. Valdez if she can have baked goods in there, and they were going to give all the proceeds to the building fund. Everything up there goes to some ministry that we do. It would go to our building fund. So if you want a building next year, ladies, so you're not crowded. But anyway, well, also, because we pulled the teens out, my husband had decided to make a snack bar especially for teens. So now we have a bake sale, a snack bar especially for teens, and every year we always let our seniors in high school run a snack bar to help get money for their senior trip. So here are these poor seniors who thought they were going to have all this business for their senior trip. My husband starts running a snack bar, and then Jim McLean has been told by Linda, who was in charge of that she could run a bake sale. And my husband didn't realize all this was going on. And so he said to me, I don't think that bake sale is a good idea. I think we're going to hurt these senior in high school. Well, this was Tuesday? Yeah. And you know what you're thinking. And I was the one who had to break this wonderful news to these senior citizen ladies who had worked and baked and put stuff in the freezer and gotten things together. But my husband said, I just don't think it was a miscommunication. We've never had a baked goods in the craft store before. We didn't realize that was going to happen. I'm doing this extra food thing. It's probably going to be too much. And I said, okay, the preacher thinks it's too much. It's too much. So I went to Jimmy, and I said, Jimmy, I just don't think that's, we didn't realize, and we're not going to be able to do this bake sale. Now, Jimmy had a decision to make. She could have thought, you just see if we worked, or I've gotten these ladies to spend all this time baking all this stuff, forget it. We're just not going to do anything anymore. We're not going to do that. This is just all our time wasted. Or she could say, God, if you wanted our time, we yield the right to spend our time the way you think we should spend it. And if you wanted us to bake all those baked goods and not be able to get money for the building fund, there must be another reason we baked them. And that's exactly what Jimmy did. She said, well, I know what we could do. We could give them to junior camp. Do you know what Jimmy McLean did? She created a harvest of happiness in a sensitive situation. Why? Because maybe not consciously, but in her heart, she yielded her time to God. The right to choose how she spent her time to God. Let me tell you one more story about things. Do you have that still down there? Forget that talent one. I didn't have time for it. I'm running out of time. When we were planning this, we knew we were going to do fall decorations, harvest. We knew that. I've known that for quite a while now. So during Thanksgiving, when things started going on sale, I went and bought some things. But one thing I didn't buy were scarecrows. You see these scarecrows right here? Because I had those. I had them in our storage shed. Well, about a week before the conference, I went out there to look for my scarecrows. And I couldn't find them. So I went to the next shed. We don't have a garage, we just have sheds all over. And I went to the next shed, and they weren't in there. I went to the pool shed. I thought they're not in the pool shed, but I'll look anyway. And they weren't there. So I went to my husband, who's the keeper of the sheds, and I said, honey, do you know where my scarecrows are? He said, well, this summer when I cleaned out the shed, I probably threw them away. I said, you threw my scarecrows away? He said, yeah, I probably did. And your mind goes through all the junk he has out in that shed. But see, this is a week ago, and I was ready for the devil because I had been working on this lesson. And you know what I did? I'm so glad I had been working on this lesson. I said, well, God, if you want me to have scarecrows for the ladies' conference, because we ain't going to buy scarecrows right now. It's spring. You're not going to buy scarecrows in the store right now. If you want me to have scarecrows for this ladies' conference, if you don't want me to have them, I guess I didn't need them. Now, I didn't think that immediately. My husband doesn't know what I thought immediately, and I'm not going to tell you either. But I didn't tell anybody. I knew it was wrong. I knew I was not yielding my rights to God. I knew I was not losing my life for the sake of Christ. I knew I wasn't doing that 2 Peter stuff, verse 3. Or is it first? Second? You know which one I mean. The one about obey them that don't obey the word. 1 Peter. I wasn't doing any of that. But then I realized peace with my husband and I was far more important than some silly scarecrows. So I yielded to God. I said, well, God, if we don't have scarecrows, we don't have scarecrows. It's not really that big a deal. But that's the kind of junk people come to us that have big marriage problems. They have big marriage problems. Because why, ladies? Because we forget to yield our rights to God. We forget to lose ourselves. Now, you say, well, how did these get here? Well, let me tell you the story. My mother-in-law, who had a spring concert and had decorated farm style for that, she had asked me if she could borrow my scarecrows. And I had said yes. And I had forgotten that I had loaned her my scarecrows. And so my husband did not throw my scarecrows away. My mother-in-law had them. And so she gave them to me, and I went, my scarecrows! Oh, I'm so excited! Oh, I love them! I'm going to lose my shoe. Shoes should have back straps. I don't understand these shoes, but anyway. Do you know what? I was so happy that I did not tell my husband all those things I thought at first. What is growing in your pineapple garden? What is it that makes you angry? What is it that offends you in your marriage, in your church? Oh, one more story and I gotta go. You see that organ right there? Somehow, during all this busyness, I got it in my mind. Where's Karen? Karen Peterson? She's mad at me. She didn't come. She's here. She was playing the organ. I got it in my mind that this year we didn't have an organ player. How I got that in my mind, I don't know. But I thought, oh, well, we could use the piano. I don't know how that got in my mind. So Karen Peterson is our organ player. Her husband was setting this barn up. And I said to him, we might as well just get rid of that organ because no one's playing it anyway. And we can put this barn over there. He said, no one's playing the organ? He knew his wife had been practicing for the ladies' conference. I said, no, I want an organ player. He goes, oh, okay, well, we'll put the barn over there. And a little while later, Karen came in and said, Mrs. Goddard, did you decide you didn't need an organ, the organ for a ladies' conference? I said, can you play the organ for a ladies' conference? She said, well, I was planning on it. I have every year. And I knew that. And I said, please forgive me. Please, yes. She said, no, honest, I will not be offended if you don't want organ for the lesson. I do want organ. I just thought we didn't have an organ player. She said, no, I'll play the organ. Do you know what? Karen Peterson yielded her talent, her right to use her talent to God. And even though she had practiced and worked and been at music practices, she decided, if God doesn't want me to play the organ for ladies' conference, then I won't play the organ. She could have, when her husband said, well, Mrs. Goddard said we're not going to have an organ player, I thought, man, forget that. I'm not going to play this organ ever again. And then, when she had to tell me she was the one who played it every year, like I don't even know who plays that organ over there. But she had a perfect spirit. She just wants to serve God. If the organ will help to serve God, she'll serve God with it. If it won't, she won't serve God. Yielding. All right, let's bow our heads and close our eyes.